Hello everyone and welcome back to Crypto Atlas. In today's episode, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, Chainlink, and just a little bit of an update on our baby Orchid. If you guys are new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. As you guys can see above my head, we do have a goal that we're trying to push towards our first 500. Big goal, trying to get to that 1K. Anyways, thank all of you guys for being here. Feel free to hit that like button. Maybe we could try pushing for 50. I have no idea how many views we can get on this. Obviously, we're still a pretty new channel. And definitely let me know in the comments down below any thoughts and opinions that you guys have on the content today. Quick disclaimer, not a financial advisor. The stuff I'm sharing with you, my opinion, finding articles online, showing you my perspective view on the technical analysis. So big first thing that I want to talk about, we're going to go ahead and talk about is Chainlink. And Chainlink can now be used in over 2.2 million plus hotels. This is thanks to Travala.com. They've integrated Chainlink as a payment option for travel bookings. Chainlink holders can now use Link to pay for their accommodation over 2.2 million hotels and homes in 230 countries across the world. Very bullish information. Such real-life use cases of digital assets will further boost crypto adoption. See, crypto, I mean, there's a whole industry space here, but Chainlink is one of these that's being accepted and moved into as something very, very predominant in its space, like Travala. I mean, when you think about Expedia, you can actually use Bitcoin with Expedia, as well as Newegg, and there's a whole other slew of things that have been discussed in the past. So it's cool to see Chainlink, which is very popular, now being adopted into something like this. And you can see from Travala.com on their Twitter account, they said Travala to integrate Link for payments. Link token holders will be able to pay for travel bookings at over 2.2 million hotels and homes globally. With cryptocurrency adoption on the rise, we want to ensure our users at Travala.com have access to the most popular payment choices. Link has always been a token requested by members of our community, so we have responded to this request. And aside from that, you can actually see that Chainlink has started to have a bit of a rise up. Chainlink's up 30% following the 6-week downtrend and developer sell-off. Chainlink developer address appears to have been offloading tokens and putting downward pressure on prices, but things are looking up. So with this new information that just came out, very bullish, you show signs that there's an increase in demand and marketplace, right? So there's a higher likelihood of the holders that are using it, they're going to be wanting to spend it, and people that are willing to accept it as a form of payment. So that's all great information for sure. There's something here in this article that I saw that does raise a bit of a bear flag to me though, and it's something to kind of be considered of, but I wouldn't take it too seriously, just because you do see a lot of other cryptocurrencies that have a certain amount of circulating supply, and they've still got a long way to go to get to their total supply. So going down here, you can see first off, following a 6-week downtrend from its all-time high, Link has rebounded 30% in the past 24 hours after a reported developer sell-off resulted in downward pressure on the Oracle protocol token's price. Okay, this dev's address has been selling batches of 500,000 tokens worth approximately $4.8 million per batch at current prices regularly over the past 6 months. The frequency of sell-offs increased after Link hit its all-time high last month. So higher price, they're pushing out even more onto the market. Supply and demand, but they were really pumping that out. The address shows several outflows to a Binance address, but then the trail goes cold. There are around 26 million tokens remaining in this address, worth an estimated $258 million at current prices. So they still got quite a bit of ways to go for that address to be able to pump out into the actual market. 26 million tokens. In the broad retrospect, when you look at Chainlink, it's a total supply of 1 billion. So it's not necessarily that bad, but when you're doing 500,000 tokens at a time, you can kind of see how much of an impact it's had at the moment of it pulling it down. It has had a little bit of an impact, but let's be honest, the whole industry space as of recently, it's kind of seen that pullback. We're all really excited, waiting for that big bull run, and there's something that just kind of keeps moving that goalpost just a little bit more. We get close to it, and then it just kind of pulls it away just a little bit more. Now let's talk about some absolutely incredible news with Bitcoin. And I think this is really important for everybody to keep in mind. So some new information. First off, we'll start off with the bad news. And it's not even that bad. I mean, it's bad, but it could be way worse. So ABC 13 News, scam report, reports of Bitcoin fraud in Henderson County. Victims are being told they owe money to the IRS and then asked to move money from their bank accounts into Bitcoin ATMs for safekeeping until the Social Security information is corrected. Okay, so that's not real. Don't do that. I just want to point that out there in case anybody's watching this. If you get some phone call, I want to be one of those people that like just tells you right now, somebody's saying, hey, you need to send Bitcoin to this, that, but it's a scam, okay? Be really careful with how you handle these transactions and the stuff dealing with the IRS and everything else. Like, just be really, really careful, guys, especially EDD. A lot of people are manipulating stuff. If you guys haven't been hearing about that with EDD, so for people that are under unemployment. Anyways, so that's not really that bad, right? Now here's the great news. Did I just really spike? Sorry about that if I just spiked my volume. Here's the great news. The great news. No internet, no problem. Venezuela gets Bitcoin satellite node. Wait, what? What does that mean, Atlas? Well, what that means, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, is that a country with poor internet connections is now being provided with the means to where they can actually do Bitcoin transactions thanks to a satellite up in space that's then transmitting down to a node. And this explains a little bit about what it's doing. And there's a couple key things that if you want to look further into it, or if you want me to kind of look further into it and explain more in another video, then you guys can. Feel free to let me know in the comments. So it allows for a node on the ground to receive Bitcoin transaction details from a Blockstream satellite without internet, as I just said. It uses technology from Blockstream, which contracts satellites, in this case EUTEL SAT 113, to broadcast data between points via offline connections. That's huge in a country where internet infrastructure is lacking. The idea came from Crypto Buyer, a Latin American startup focused on offering cryptocurrency-based payment solutions. We started in Venezuela because of the obvious connectivity problems, and Crypto Buyer is always looking for a way to be resilient to these kinds of problems by anticipating any possible contingency, CEO Jorge Farias told Decrypt, or maybe it's George. I'm used to saying Jorge for those kind of spelling. Anyways, so yeah, this is actually really good information and good news, not just for the people of Venezuela, but for the whole world. Because in instances of developing countries, places that are kind of off-kiltered from the city life, but they're still kind of close, but they want to be able to do transactional trades, they can be able to do so thanks to technology like this. This is absolutely amazing. Imagine a world, right, where you're so used to the idea of using physical cash or potentially gold, but it's very hard to deal with and transferring, and the market changes with this and that, and it's a depreciating asset. And then you look at something like Bitcoin, and now you're giving the opportunity to people that are in other countries where they're like, well, this currency, how can that be valuable to me? I don't have means to be able to send that, and the people that are near me, all they can accept is cash. Maybe that guy has internet, but then all these people, they don't have it, and this guy that has it barely even is able to use it, right? So now it's like, well, everyone can get access to Bitcoin and trade it now. I could get it, you could get it. Plus, as you continue to develop technology, internet will start to become more accessible to the rest of the world anyways. And it is important that for especially a developing country, for them to further develop, they have to expand out of their own bubble, out of their own country. They got to start connecting with the rest of the world, especially in business. Because think about it, supply and demand. Your customer base, if you're in a country and you can only trade with your own country, your customer pool will always be this big. It's this amount of people that live in your country. This is the amount of people, potential market. Now, if you go to the rest of the world, you're starting to expand your bubble. So you have more potential customers. More potential customers means more potential demand, if your supply as a provider is right here and you continue to increase your demand because of how well you're able to outreach there, your revenue can increase. That flow of income that comes in can then diversify into the economy natively there, and now no longer are you necessarily a developing country, but you're actually a stable, more secure-based country. Almost said company. And yeah, so I think this is absolutely great news. You also need to take a look at some of the other stuff. So more recently, let me go ahead and close out that article there and this one right here. You take a look recently, there was an article a couple days ago. I can't remember if I talked about this. I know some other cryptocurrency YouTubers have talked about this, but Venezuela has legalized the crypto mining, but will force industry into national pool. So it's like, hey, cool, you guys are okay to go mine, but hey, you got to split up all this stuff. It states that any local entity wishing to mine cryptos must apply for a license and be listed on a government register. Applicants will need to hand over information to the authorities on the nature of their mining activities and keep their mining related records for 10 years. Manufacturers of mining equipment or mining data centers will be able to apply for a special license according to the report. So it's good, kind of bad. But the fact that, like, hey, you have permission to mine on this, guess what? More miners means the hash rate going to go higher, which means more security, which means more likely the adoption because people will feel that it's less risky as an asset. So it's great news, right? It's going to cause it to be harder for miners as more of them come in to make a profit. So adjustments will continue to be made, but the weak hands will get shaken out. The strong hands of those players, they're going to remain, and there will still be a competitive space. You look at things like solar energy, which is basically like, hey, I got the technology that's out there. I have a chance to try and make something off of it. I can go work on this. I still have an opportunity to get a part of this project, right? So there's lots of different ways that things continue to evolve and kind of shift in a little bit in these different directions. In Venezuela, well, how are they doing economically? Well, as far as their currency goes, they're not doing good, right? When we talk about inflation and we look at our currency in the United States and how it's starting to depreciate, you look at all these other countries in the past and how they've had their currencies go really bad and what's happened to them. That's happening in Venezuela right now. And you look in just a short time frame, these two different days, you got some very important news in regards to their country about them essentially trying to change the direction of their money because where they're at right now is not working. In 2016, Venezuela entered hyperinflation, right? This is what we're starting to see here. We got $6 trillion earlier this year with the United States, or 6 or 7, either one. Still, wait, it's trillions of dollars, right? Venezuela entered hyperinflation. The inflation rate reached 274% in 2016. The next year, 863%, 130,060% in 2018, 9,586% in 2019. So since 2016, the overall in the last 4 years inflation has increased to $53,798,500. I mean, that's just insane. Take a look at this chart in regards to the Venezuelan bolivar to the United States dollar and how much Venezuela's dollar has depreciated. So in a sense, this kind of makes it look good for the United States dollar, but United States dollar is doing inflation. Bolivar is doing inflation. Every country, essentially, they're all inflating their currency, and it's now more potential out into their market, and it's this massive mess. This thing is essentially over the last you got 4 years, 4-year chart, right? Looking at this, it's just gone from kind of flat to now you can basically paint it and make a house. It's got a wall that's so strong. Donald Trump is gonna want this. Oh my God. Insert other joke here. Anyways, so that's it for that. Let's go ahead and take a look at Orchid and what it's kind of doing. Right now it is up 2%, and based on the Fibonacci retracement of where I have things kind of set up from before, we are still looking at above the 0.5 region on the Fibonacci retracement, 0.618. You can see the RSI is in a median zone. It's kind of flatlining itself a little bit. Just went up on Binance US, which is good bullish news, and we did see a big push up, but then guess what? A lot of sell-off that started to take place, and that's what we keep having, is this big push up and then immediately pulls back down. Very frustrating because it's a very promising base project. A project that I personally am interested in and I have invested in as well. There's lots of projects out there. This is one that I in particular am really wanting to keep an eye on. And yeah, so right now we're just kind of in consolidated space. It's still below the 21 EMA. It is above the support. It's below the resistance. It's still falling within the space. It could go sideways for a while, as we've seen historically. We pull back here. It's at long consolidated spaces, but a lot of things have changed since that consolidated time. More exchanges, the partnership with Chainlink, and from what I'm kind of hearing in the community space, there's a rumor which I need to look into more about possibly having this be integrated in with marketplace stuff. I didn't have full confirmation. It was just kind of a one-on-one conversation with somebody, so I would have to look further into that information. But if you could do nano payments on a marketplace with something like this, that could end up adding to a whole much larger pool of demand. So very interesting. Just kind of keep an eye on where this is going to be bouncing on here pretty soon, guys. Next thing up, we take a look over at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's slightly down. It's down just barely. I mean, it's almost on the median zone from my point in time. You can see the previous day did have a bit of a trail off and then it climbed back up. It is below the 21 EMA itself. You can even see that we had a bounce off here. It started to do a fake out of the MACD. Essentially, it was coming down, tapped the MACD, and then started coming back up. For those of you that don't know, the MACD is the moving average convergence divergence. So as things started to move between two different points in time, and this is a standard MACD, you take the short term and the long term, right? And essentially when the short term crosses over the line for the long term going down, that's an indication that you're starting to see a bearish pattern and the price is likely to go into a phase where the price is lower and continuing to go down. They can pull back up. It could be a little bit of fake outs. There's more longer term bases such as the 50 and 200 day moving average, which signifies the golden cross or the death cross. These are like some of the really long term, hey, where are we at right now? A little bit more short term, you can use a standard MACD. So looking at something like that, we could see that there was a bounce off. It was starting to go towards being bearish, and then it kind of faked out and started to go bullish again. The future contracts went through today and those expired, and as you guys can see, didn't really pull it anywhere. We're essentially at the same exact price that we were last night. In fact, I saw this price last night. You can see right here that it had happened the previous day as well. So bounced off of the, where are we at, 0.5 on the Fibonacci retracement level as what I have laid out personally. And yeah, guys, I would say that it's bought right now on the technical analysis side. And a lot of people feel that we are overdue with this. Some people still feel that it's going to go down to the CME future gap. So you got these two sides are kind of battling out. Personally, in my opinion, I think there's a chance that this is going to have a further continuation down, especially as we hear more countries that are going into lockdown, such as what just happened in Israel. You have the hash rate that just hit new all-time highs again, which means that the miners are going to be making even less money, and they're going to have to start reaccumulating. Holy cow, that is loud outside. You can hear them. They're like, oh, Bitcoin might go down. Oh, it's down a little bit. I'm going over there to go buy some. Anyways, guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap up for this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I would love for my assets that I own to go to the moon. I would love for everyone that's here to make a nice profit and have a nice life. If you guys enjoyed this content, feel free to hit subscribe, hit the like button, drop a comment down below. Let me know if there's anything that you'd like to see in a future video. And thank you guys so much. I will see you guys in the next episode.